Hello and welcome to Big Speak. I'm your host, Brigadier Rakesh Bhatia. In today's episode, we will evaluate the importance of political work. We will also talk about the human wave tactics which was used for offensive by the PLA. What were the advantages and disadvantages? How did the Vietnamese army use political work while defending their territory? First of all, let's look at force on force between PLA and the Vietnamese army. The Vietnamese Army Infantry Battalion had only 80% of the manpower when compared to the PLA Infantry Battalion. The number of AK-47 assault rifles held by the Vietnamese was 60% of that held by the PLA. It was 132 rifles versus 221 rifles with the PLA. PLA could fire approximately 40,435 small arms rounds per minute compared to 26,405 by the Vietnamese army. There were number of similarities between the PLA and the Vietnamese forces. Both used old weapons and lacked technological advantages. Their recruits from the farmers who were poorly educated. However, for their inspiration, they relied on politics and patriotism. Political work system was used to motivate these recruits. The training emphasized political will and unit solidarity. Assaults resembled movement of a large mob, were egged on by bugles, whistles, and shouts. The tactical option for poorly armed and trained conscript continued to be massed attack. It was probably the best and the easiest option for those who were in command. However, it resulted in inaccurate and inconsistent fire. The junior leaders always had to look for instructions from the senior. What are the factors which were important while carrying out human wave attacks? The success factor was dependent on persuasion of troops to advance against enemy's gun. Fanatical commitment was an essential element which was achieved by carrying out political indoctrination. Teaching recruits that will and enthusiasm are paramount was important. Political officers played a very critical role who created conditions for human wave attacks. Emphasis on political indoctrination over firepower and professional training was also important. For motivating, the tools which were used was political slogans, heroic models, where real or imaginary heroes were created, remembrance books and display of their photographs all over the country was resorted to motivate the soldiers to continue with their attacks. The soldiers were even told to take oaths known as the enemy killing oaths. Convincing troops that stronger willpower could defeat an enemy reliant on machinery and professional knowledge was an achievement of the political officers of the PLA. The selection criteria for promotion in the PLA always emphasized on political prioritization over military skills. Individuals needed to impress their cell leaders to progress. Those who had joined the Communist Youth League or the party were preferred over those who were not part of the party. Promotion to cell leaders upon continued political impressiveness was important. The consequences of this was that the PLA suffered high casualties and low effectiveness due to prioritization of political criteria over military competence. Now, these are few questions which I thought would be important to remember with respect to human wave assaults that were carried out both by the Vietnamese army and the PLA. What was the primary tactics used? What role did the artillery play? Why were human wave assaults typically dangerous and costly? How did defender with modern rapid fire weapon impact the effectiveness? How did the night attacks impact the effectiveness of human wave assaults? Psychological impact, how the political indoctrination played an important role. What was the method which was used by political officers? Why was the belief in the superiority of willpower or enemy firepower important? And what do you mean by enemy killing oaths and remembrance book? What role did they play in preparing troops for human wave assaults? Answers to all these 11 questions can be formed based on the coming slides. Let's define what is human wave assault. It was used by Vietnamese and the PLA. It followed a massive artillery barrage on the objective, and thereafter troops were advancing from line of departure to line of contact without concealment. It had few advantages, like it resulted in shock effect on the defenders. Large mass of troops created a powerful psychological impact. Sheer number of attackers overwhelmed defensive positions. Aim was to target weak points, and success was through concentrated force on specific areas. However, there were large number of disadvantages too. It resulted in high casualties with modern rapid-fire weapons, which inflicted significant losses. This mass attack was vulnerable to artillery, landmines, and air attacks if it lacked surprised assembling troops in front of defenders' position, and night attacks offer limited concealment due to noise that was created. Movement was also a challenge. Movement across open ground was essential but extremely difficult to execute. Troops were required to move quickly and in large number, hence exposing them to defensive fire. The fire which was carried out while on the move lacked accuracy. Attackers' movement make aiming extremely difficult, and success relied on mass impact rather than accurate fire. Success factor of human wave assault. Success factors of human wave assaults depended on troop motivation, persuading troops to advance against enemy fire, strong commitment of politically indoctrinated peasants in the army. Political indoctrination played a very vital role. The success factor also depended on will and enthusiasm over firepower and training. The methods used for indoctrinating the soldiers was importance of unit solidarity, concepts like Quan Binh Zi in China and Quan Binh Na Tri in Vietnam, which basically means that all comrades are brothers in arms and you need to come to each other's rescue in times of need. Political slogans was used to egg on the people to continue fighting. Doubts, if any, were offset by using slogans, hero models, and oaths. It encouraged belief in the power of will over enemy's machinery. Indoctrination technique, hero models, enemy killing oaths, sworn commitments were given to the soldiers that they will defeat the enemy under all circumstances, reminded troops of their missions and collective goals. The success factor depended on stronger will and need to believe in superiority of their willpower. All this, of course, was created by using political indoctrination. It was very important to maintain high morale at all time. Political officers ensured that soldiers continued to have high morale throughout the operations. In conclusion, I would say that human wave tactics could be effective only due to psychological shock and massed force. It was costly in terms of casualties and lacked tactical surprise. Historically, China used mass wave tactics during the Civil War, 1950 Korean War, and 1962 Sino-Indian War. Use of human wave tactics, of course, reflected lack of strategies and limitations of the time. With this, I come to the end of today's episode. I'll request you to please like, share, and subscribe. Please put in your questions which you want us to answer in the comment section. All the best. Jai Hind.